New World, a game that originally launched in September of 2021, which was loved by many players but quickly fell apart from within. And 3 years later, we now find ourselves possibly witnessing its second win, rebranded as New World Eternal, which is ready to be released in October. And yes folks, New World is finally saved because you can now swim for the first time ever. You see, for those that are completely new to this game, New World was an MMORPG plagued by countless bugs, glitches and exploits within weeks of its release. And looking at the Steam charts today, it's clear that the game struggled to retain any of its player base. Amazon Games quickly tarnished their reputation because of poor management and direction, and that's almost a universal opinion now, where anything you read about New World is often dismissed because of how many chances they had to fix their game. It's not just because people wanted to jump on a hate train and criticize New World in any possible way, but because more importantly, a lot of us knew how much potential New World had, including myself. I'm writing this script and editing this video with a sad face, because trust me, I was one of those players who genuinely loved playing New World. I racked up almost 1,000 hours of game time before finally quitting. In fact, the first video I ever made on this channel was about New World, because of how frustrated I was with the way the game was being managed. Over the years, they made some improvements to New World to try and regain some of those lost players, but they were making these improvements at a very slow pace, and each update that was introduced to the game caused twice as many bugs, eventually leading to players being more frustrated than anything. They added PvP arenas and a group dungeon finder 1 year after its initial release, and just some quality of life features to make it easier for anyone playing. They also added new content like mutated dungeons or whatnot, but the biggest update so far was the expansion called Angry Earth, which at the time seemed to have gathered enough players but then quickly lost them all again. The point is, not only did the game lack a lot of content and polish, but Amazon tried to make improvements at a pace that wasn't fast enough to satisfy the current player base, leaving players with no other option but to quit. And so here we are again, 3 years later, almost on the exact same date New World was initially launched. So you have to ask, is this new rebranded title justified? Well, it depends on the last time you played, or if you have played New World at all. If you're one of those players who quickly left New World back in 2021, or if you're preparing to play for the first time ever, chances are you will really enjoy your time in New World Eternal. New World is that game that is just amazing on the surface level, which is why you as a new player will really enjoy this game for the first time. The graphics, animations, sound effects, background music, all of it is just top quality in comparison to other games in the genre. New World was already fun to begin with the first time I played the game, but now it seems that they have added real cinematics and cutscenes to provide a much better storytelling, which did not exist at all 3 years ago. They have changed some of the UI, running animations, and added more quality of life features. You also get to experience more content, like a new PvP zone, a new raid, or repeatable endgame dungeons. There's also a bunch of other stuff, like for example, removing durability on equipment, or not having to craft ammo and arrows anymore for the ranged weapons. But you see, the problem seems to occur once you have played through the first 30 levels. After you have reached the mid-game, you begin to realize how boring and repetitive it is to play through most of its content. A lot of the quests are still boring and bland, where you have to loot a chest or kill a mob. You still have boring pages that you have to pick up if you want to gain experience, and you still have a lot of enemies that look different but play the exact same because of copy and paste animations. If you are planning to play with other people, well then make sure that you are in the right faction, because yes, that's right, New World has 3 different factions that will never ever be balanced. New World always had an issue with many servers being completely overwhelmed or dominated by only one faction. Oh, and how about boring and repetitive gathering and crafting skills? You can only train a crafting skill if you go to the crafting station at any major town, and that's about it. You can't gain experience in that skill in any other way. Whereas in old school RuneScape, you have multiple ways and various methods to gain experience in one skill. Oh, you think New World fixed all of their glitches and bugs? Nope, you're going to find many more bugs just like we did back in 2021. And how about gameplay execution, which is not something you will feel early on, but as you start to do more dungeons and PvP content, you will realize that New World was also plagued by desync and netcoding problems that still exist to this day. Don't get me wrong, one of the best things about New World is that they chose an action combat system over tab target, which I really appreciate. However, the combat is simply not consistent because it feels very janky and clunky to play. It's not as responsive and smooth as one would hope it to be. This leads to players being more frustrated for being punished by the game itself, rather than to admit that they are simply bad against their opponents. The best way I can put put it is, if you wanted to have true display of skill in New World, chances are you are going to be more punished by engaging in hardcore close combat than if you were to play the game casually. To put it lightly, if you're one of those players with hundreds, if not thousands of hours of playtime in New World, it's unlikely that you will feel motivated to play this game again, especially knowing how poorly the developers at Amazon treated their player base. Look guys, it's good to see that some aspects of the game have been improved, but in my opinion, it's not really justified to be sold or advertised as a completely new game. It feels like a cash grab because the difference between New World and New World Aeternum is barely noticeable. They have also made empty promises for years, and I personally wouldn't be surprised if they eventually shut this game down once the honeymoon phase is over. You can disagree or hate on this video all you want, but just know that I loved playing New World and I really wanted it to succeed. But if this is all you have to bring 3 years after initial release, then I don't know what else to say anymore. I'm not gonna let Amazon games fool me again, and I do not recommend playing New World Aeternum unless you are entirely new to this game and you want to play it badly. That's about it. Have a good day, folks.